everyone, and welcome back to Office Hours here at the Professor's Kitchen, where I sit down in my office with my beverage of choice. And if you are listening to this over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something like that, you cannot see my lovely BB-8 mug this morning, but it is a much needed, very large cup of burnout blocker tea because this is what I need in my life right now. Okay. And, as of the date of this recording, we just celebrated Star Wars Day. So, may the 4th still be with you wherever we are when this podcast finally airs. Honestly, I had to double fist it this morning. There's also my Wiesbaden coffee mug as well, because my guest today, I met her in Wiesbaden, Germany, and also I needed coffee. So those two things just seem to work out together. I'm like double fisting it over here this morning because that's what's going on in my life. But I am so excited to have my military friend. She'll have to introduce herself and tell you exactly why she is the way that she is. You'll get it when you hear her. But she's like everyone's best friend. And she's so humble about the whole thing, but it's kind of hard. She's infectious. You kind of can't not be friends with her. You kind of have to. She's everyone's military friend, bestie person. And she's super creative, and I absolutely love her. So, welcome to Office Hours here at the Professor's Kitchen, Chanté Franco. Hey, girl.
Thank
Hey.
you so much for inviting me. Hey, girl, hey, but I'm going to need you to calm down because you're going to talk me up to these people. And then I'm going to be like, okay, that's the perception. Let me tell you the for reals, because it is very easy to not like me. But let me tell you this. The reason why I've been told in the past that I was unlikable is why I consider it my superpower now, because I've always been told that I was too much, too loud, too everything. The TWW has always been used with me to whatever X, Y, and Z. And I used to try to hide my shine. I used to try to be a little less than two. And then suddenly I was like, wait a minute. I'm too much for you. I'm
Right.
just enough for them,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
not everybody might like me, and that is okay.
I love that. I love it when you say that. You're not everybody's cup of tea, but you might be somebody's cup of hot coffee. And yes, yes, you have so many words of wisdom, and I cannot wait to hear today your 5 things about being creative. But first, I wanted to start kind of back a little ways because my last guest, we talked a little bit about how we don't come into this life as military spouses, right? We're both military spouses now, but you actually started off serving our country in the military, and you have a ton of background that makes you who you are today. So, what would you like to share about all of those experiences, your education and your military service?
Well, first of all, I'm just a busybody and I'm always and you know how some people they collect purses and shoes. For
Hmm.
me, it has always been knowledge. I love learning, and I've learned to implement because let's be real, y'all, you can learn everything, but if you implement nothing, what was the point, right?
Right.
So, I am a military spouse. I am a veteran, and I'm also a military child. So I grew up in this world. My dad was in the Air Force. My stepmom was in the Air Force. They retired. Right out of high school, I went into the Army. I met my husband in the Army when I was done because he said, "You're done." Like it was a whole conversation. You're done. So when I was done, he's still serving. He retires in a few years. Whoop, whoop. So this has literally been my whole life. And I love the military community. And I hate it when people say, there's nothing for us or there
Mm.
is, we're always left behind. The problem is that there isn't anything for us. It's that it's not always presented. So I've made it kind of my side mission to make
Hmm.
sure that I'm like, you can get this as a spouse, as a veteran, as a military dependent. So that's that's always been very prevalent in what I do, no matter what I do. When I was working I wanted to work at the USO because of this. I was content on volunteering, but they were like, no, we'll give you monies. And I was like, okay, that works. You know,
You're like,
right
"Dang."
now, I not only am I part of the Wounded Warrior Project, but I also work with them in trying to really connect with the community. I'm the president of the local spouses club. And no, it's not for the nose with the air. We're real people. And I made sure that was the atmosphere. Like I came in like a wrecking ball, Larice. I was like, I don't know how you've been doing it, but this is how we are going to do it because we want everybody included. For my educational background, so I would call myself a chronic student. As
Professional
long
student.
A professional student. Okay,
Yes.
I'll take that one. A professional student, because as long as the VA pays for it, I'm going. So,
Mm,
so I have my little collection. The first time I went, it was for health and wellness.
okay.
So I was like, okay, let me go ahead and get a bachelor's in health and wellness. It was for alternative medicine.
Okay.
Didn't really do anything with it, but at the time I was really invested in it. And again, hey VA, I'm just keeping it real. All right. And then I decided that that's a great route, but I really want to go more into, because I'm a creative. So I want to learn
Yes.
more about the creative side. So what I did is, because I felt like I still had to be an adult, I on one hand I was doing cybersecurity, and on the other hand I was doing graphic design. And I was always I know, I had to learn
You're all
everything.
over the place. You're
All
like
over the
jazz
place.
hands.
And at first I felt like that was again a detriment to myself, because it seemed like I was just everywhere, right? But
Mm,
then I realized there was a method to my madness. And this is why I like personal branding, by the way, because you really find out who you are and how you operate, and you learn how to you learn how to take everything in your life and weave it together intricately and authentically,
yeah.
and you move differently than when you feel like you have to be something else.
Yes.
And for creatives, this is so important, because people like myself who love to just create, right? We
Mm-hmm.
love to dabble in this and dabble in that. We have to really make sure that we know why,
Right.
and we know who we're talking to,
Yeah.
and that we also, there's a science to it. It's an art form, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, because even science is an art.
Right.
But
Yeah.
there is a science to crafting your personal brand so that you feel more authentic in what you're doing, and that you have clarity.
Yeah.
That is it right away? No. So I will go into the tips, because I know she wants me to go into the tips. But I wanted to give that background so that whoever is listening, if they understand where I'm coming from, because some people, their brain is very detail oriented and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
we are doing X, Y, Z, whatever. And then there's people like me who I see the big picture up in the clouds. But the XYZ is not exactly the easiest part to get to. And what's great about, and nowadays too, I want to say that we're coming to understand that people, especially consumers, are more attracted to personal brands than before. Even the
Mm-hmm.
bigger companies have gotten it. I like to use Nike a lot because they really got it. Yes, and there's a difference between a personal brand and a business brand.
Right.
Um, but Nike has really gotten it to where they have taken everything down to a very human and intimate level. So
Yeah.
even though they are still selling their shoes, you know exactly who are buying their shoes. When they have a commercial, they are telling a story with
Yes.
their commercial. Just do it. Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? Who has not said just do it?
It's
It's such a simple
it's
phrase.
so simple. It's so kind of generic and like a catch-all
But it's
phrase.
impactful.
It
And
is.
so I know a lot of people think that, when they think branding, they think the logo and the colors and the font and
Mm-hmm.
and the tone and the voice, and that is all important.
Right.
But you have to start from the beginning. And I'm just going to make sure I pull up my notes, because I'm on Larissa's podcast, and she's a professional.
But you have so much background, and I definitely think that you're the perfect person to talk about this. And you obviously pulled all of your different creative endeavors and your own personal style together to create what you have now. And of course, you have your own podcast. You have your own kind of company, I guess, like all set up with all of you in it. And you're doing such a wonderful job encouraging people like me to just do it in a way, getting out of your own way and jumping forward instead of standing still, basically. Which I absolutely loved. And I think I probably should have like a dedication somewhere in this podcast, like in the notes or something, dedicated to Chanté, who always encourages us to be
You are a
ourselves, be our
mess.
authentic selves, and
You
and do
are
the
a
thing and
mess.
do the thing instead of waiting until you think it's the right time to do the thing. So I cannot wait to hear what your 5 things are so that everyone can hear all of your insight, and hopefully you'll I'm going to let you take it away with your 5 things about being creative. But I think the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from a lot of what you've said is that part about getting out of your own way. But what other recommendations, suggestions, what 5 things should we all be doing right now?
Well, I will say it's really funny that you said get out of your own way, because the podcast was actually was going to be called two other things besides personal branding and Chante, and that's about to go through rebranding as well. One
Okay.
was, hey sis, stop thinking about the thing and do the thing, but that's a mouthful. But I will say it was receptive, because every time I say that, like, hey sis, stop thinking about the thing and go do the thing, it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, you right.
You're right.
You
Yes,
right.
you're right. Because
And
you
the other one
overthink
was
things.
professional overthinker. My podcast, that's the
Mm.
tagline, is I am talking to professional overthinkers. I am an ex overthinker who is in recovery and tends to relapse on a weekly basis, but it's okay. It's all about progress.
Yeah.
But one thing that a personal brand can do for you as a creative is that it can set you apart from the rest. I know you've heard this before, where there's like, you want to be able to be identifiable. You want to be able to speak to your true audience. You want to be able to connect to your audience. I would also say that, like I said in the beginning, it allows you to move with ease. It allows you to choose what you want to do with ease. I've been able to work with different brands just based on my personal brand, because they liked what I was doing and they're like, hey, can you eat this and talk about it? And if it's
Mhm.
not something that aligns with my values, I'm okay to say no,
Right.
and that I am telling you, I love this so much. All right, let me fix my glasses, let's go into it. So your personal brand basically is a combination of your values, unique skills, your experiences, your stories, your personality, of course your images, and it's all presented authentically to your audience. One of my favorite quotes is by Simon Main Waring, and it says the key to brand success are self-definition, transparency, authenticity, and accountability.
Yes.
And that accountability piece is where we tend to get lost in the sauce.
Absolutely.
We have to be accountable to ourselves. It really goes back into knowing who you are. And
Hmm.
that's really easy to say. Who are you? But when I'm asking who you are, and here's this tip number one, what are what are you really about?
Mm.
Who are you really? What are your values? So ask yourself, what unique skills do I have? What are my core values? That way you know that you're not going to cross your own boundaries, because when we get resentful about things, it's because we were not true to ourselves,
Hmm.
and we know it. And that's the part, is we know we weren't true to ourselves. If I came on here and I was like, darling,
That's not you.
I am an expert at cycling.
Oh,
No, I know nothing about cycling. I like cycling. I know nothing about cycling.
cycling's cool.
You know, it is cool. I love it. I am about to do a 100-mile ride after this because it's
Oh,
something that I like to do.
okay.
I know, don't get it twisted with the big girls. We still like it, but you really want to ask yourself those questions. What unique skills do I have? What are my core values? What am I passionate about? And
Hmm.
how does my unique expertise help shape who I am? We do not give ourselves enough credit. We tend to think that unless we have some kind of degree, and I understand you are a professor, so I'm not knocking degrees, but we tend to think that unless we have something super official behind us, that we have nothing to offer. And what I love about personal branding is that it brings up what you do know, what you are experienced in, and you have to be willing to learn more and to grow. So you want to know who you are, especially as creatives. When we want to do and be all the things, we need to make sure we have that core
Yes.
really determined, and asking those questions help.
Yeah.
Secondly, what do you want to accomplish with
Mm.
your personal brand? Now, for those who are in the workspace, personal branding still works when it comes to your career because they want to know who you are. There was a study done that 75% of consumers now want to do business with those who have a strong personal brand
Hmm.
versus just, and it's the like no trust factor, but they want to do business with people that has a strong personal brand because they feel like they can connect with them. And again, I said even big corporations are understanding this, and so they are really scaling down so they can be more intimate. So are you creating this personal brand because you want to be an influencer? Are you
Hmm.
doing it because you want to um, make more progress in your career? You need to know why you're doing it. So you ask yourself, what would I like to accomplish both personally and professionally? What do I want to be known for?
Right.
I could be the world's foremost. Okay, English is my first language.
Some
I tend
days.
to trip. I tend to trip over words, so I speak Chantéism.
That's
It's
fine.
okay. I have a dictionary. So I could be an expert on this topic. What topic would that be? You know? And then if I could give only one piece of advice, what would it be? And what is the personality of my brand? When I first started off, Larice, let me tell you, I did everything wrong. I was trying to craft myself into what I thought I was supposed to be, what I
Right.
thought would be receptive. And
Hmm.
so I showed up inauthentically. The colors I used were not authentic because I thought I should be using like softer colors. And again, that's a whole other thing. You need this done first before you even start thinking about the logos and the colors and stuff like that. You need
Right.
these questions, they need to be answered. But I showed up inauthentically. And you know what that did? It made me bitter. I wasn't pumping out content that I would like. I wasn't creating what I was liking. I wasn't showing up consistently
Hmm.
because it wasn't authentic to who I really wanted to do. I was even scared on my own podcast to talk about certain issues or to bring up certain issues because I thought, well, they don't want to hear about that, or I that's not what this show is all about. And then finally it was my sister who was like, "This doesn't really sound like you, though." And I was like, "Yeah, it does." And then I went back and listened. I was like, "Oh,
You're like, that's my voice, but everything that's
mm.
coming out of my mouth is
And what was
maybe
coming out
not
my mouth
me.
wasn't inaccurate, and
Right.
it still had impact, and it was still quality content. However, it wasn't 100% me.
Right.
And so I wasn't getting the traction that I wanted because my energy wasn't even there. And I know that sounds woo woo to a lot of people, but let me
Mhm.
tell you something. There is something to be said for when you are moving authentically and you can give 100% and you can show up 100% of the time and feel good about it and put that energy out there. Believe you me, it attracts the people that you want and the traction that you want.
Yeah.
If you are feeling stuck right now, because in this season, we're all talking about burnout,
Yes.
but if you are feeling stuck right now, it's because there is something missing, and that missing piece is probably you. So let's get on to the third tip, and that is identify your target audience. And again, this has to go back to what you really want to speak to. Now, as a creative, it's hard for me, and I'm going to keep saying as a creative, because all the creatives I know, we want to do multiple things, and that's possible, and it's more possible with a personal brand, because you can pull all that together. Even
Right.
though we won't go into it today, but presenting that online has to be done in a nice streamlined way. You can't just
Yeah.
throw everything together, because if no one knows who you are, they're
Right.
not going to stick around. And I know this for a fact, okay? If there is confusion, there is not an audience. Okay?
Right.
There's not a sale. People don't like to be confused. If they
Right.
have to ask you what you're doing, there are issues. But finding your target audience, this is the core demographic of people who will resonate deeply with you, and they can only do that if you are showing up authentically. And they want to know more about you, they want to know more about your brand, they want to know about what you offer. Some people call these lifers,
Mhm.
because they will be with you no matter what you do. And
Right.
even if it's not for them, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, you know what? This season's about burnout. I'm not really about burnout. Last season was better when we talked about this. But my friend, I know she's going through this. I'm going to recommend the show to her.
Yes.
Exactly. So you want to create that rapport with your audience, where
Mhm.
even if it's not for them, they trust you enough that they will introduce you to people in their lives, whether that's a coworker, whether that's a friend, whether it's their own audience. So don't take that lightly. Whether it's their own audience, they trust you enough that you will not set them astray, that they will introduce you to them, right? So you really want to know who your core audience is. And to identify that, you can ask questions such as, who can I most effectively help? Who will benefit most from my skill set and knowledge? Who am I most passionate about serving? And who will resonate most with me and my brand? Now, this is a caveat, because we can start off thinking one thing. I started off thinking I could help all mompreneurs and network marketers and solopreneurs, like all of them all together. And the more I did it, the more I realized, no, that I cannot, because there's certain things that don't resonate. I have
Right.
teenagers. I don't have small kids anymore.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about teenage problems on Summer Show, they might not resonate with that. I'm a
Right.
military spouse, so I will come from that perspective. Someone might not resonate with that. There are common themes that we can all resonate with, but the overlapping ones might lose people, and that's okay. So if you start off one way and you end up changing, I promise you it's okay. If anything, it's for the better.
Yeah.
I say niche and niche. I say it both ways. Quite frankly, I don't care. Y'all can correct me. That's engagement. I'm okay.
Do it. Do
I
it.
know,
Correct
right?
me,
I
please.
correct me. Exactly. That's engagement. I am okay with that. But you really do want to narrow down your niche. And I know it seems like the more narrow you are, the less people you will connect with, but if anything, you'll actually connect with more, and it'll be easier because you're not trying to serve everybody. Y'all, we are not Walmart.
No.
I know we want to be Walmart, but even
Everyone wants to
Walmart
be.
has their target audience.
They
Walmart
do.
has their target audience. Target has their target audience.
Mhm.
So even though we want to be and do all the things, we have to pull back so that we can really see how we can serve and know why you're serving. Again, this is the determine who you are, because if you're just trying to be out here to be seen, okay, you're out here talking about catch me outside, you know, like, then that's your purpose. Fine, but even the catch me outside people know who they are
Right.
talking to. And so
That's
I
their
think it's
brand.
very funny when we criticize them, but they're doing their job because their name is in our mouth.
Right. Yeah.
We can recognize them, and that's insane.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna keep going because she knows that I'll talk. You gotta tell me to stop.
All day. We'll do this all day.
All right, so number 4 is determine your unique service proposition. This is your USP, and it sounds really complicated, but it's not. It's simply your brand summed up in a single, powerful, compelling statement, and
Mhm.
it describes exactly what you do for your audience. So typically, it looks something like this. I help your target audience or person, your avatar, if you will.
Okay.
I help target person to achieve X, Y, and Z so that they can, and then your outcome. And your USP doesn't have to say everything about your brand, but it
Mhm.
should get to the heart of your brand. So I'll talk about personal branding and Chanté. The podcast. The podcast is meant to help professional overthinking mompreneurs get out of their way and out of their head so that they can achieve their goals.
Yeah.
I could go deeper than that, but let's keep going. Let's keep going. But you really do want to have that statement. You really
Right.
do. You can think about it as the 30-second elevator pitch. I call it like the 2-second elevator pitch because it's literally just a statement saying who you are.
Yeah.
And that statement helps you not only curate the experience for your audience,
Mhm.
but it helps you just have that ease of mind. Y'all, I'm just trying to have ease of mind. I don't need things to be complicated.
No.
I
Life
have
is
enough
complicated
complication.
enough.
Thank you. I have enough complication as it is. Why am I trying to add? This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be something that not only am I fulfilling my need as a creative, because I need to
Mhm.
create. I need to, and as a creative, let's be honest, we need people to see what we create. I
Yeah.
don't understand people who act like they don't. I'm like, what are you talking about? We literally create things so other people can see it. Like,
Yes.
just accept that. And you want to make sure the right people see it. Listen, if you have not accepted self awareness, be self aware. When people tell me, oh, I'm just doing this for the, all right, I'll say this. Listen, I'm about to get canceled. All right.
Oh.
So, so when people say in business, when I talk to a lot of women, and they say, I'm just in business to create an impact. Got it. I love it.
What does that mean?
So it means that they don't want to look at the hard thing they're in business for, and that's to make money,
Right.
because they're scared to be seen a certain way. So that's a whole other thing.
Right.
But I will say, but you can create an impact and make money. Like
Yeah.
that's instead of thinking like, oh, I don't want to be a 6-figure. I mean, I don't want to be a 6-figure earner or whatever because I don't want people to think I'm just money hungry. I'm like, yeah, but if you're a 6-figure earner, you could be a 6-figure giver. Like
Yes.
it's all about mindset. It really is. But that is for another day. But really, it all goes back to number 1, because you can't do anything without knowing number 1, and that's determining who you are.
Right.
And you have to be honest. I didn't start a podcast to hear myself speak. I started a podcast so that other people could hear me speak and we could build a community,
Right.
right? Picasso didn't paint just because he thought it would look cute on his own wall.
Right.
All
Right.
right, so it's okay to know why you're doing this, right?
Yes.
Let me pull it
Yes.
back up, because listen, we can go to church, but we got stuff to do. So let's get to number 5, and that is start treating yourself as a brand. Now, I am not saying that you have to be fake and only show up as like office hours, or
Right.
only show this, that, and whatever. But what it does mean is when you're communicating with your audience, you want to be consistent in how you show up. So across social media, across all communications, even in emails, you want to be consistent with what you had placed for your brand. If I talk in this voice with
Mhm.
this verbiage, and when I say voice, I'm talking about the words I'm choosing, I'm talking about my pitch, my cadence. This is very distinctive. You don't hear me and think, oh, she sounds like Sally Mae Sue Jones.
Right.
You hear me and you're like, that's some Chante right there.
That's
Like,
Chanté
so
all
you
day.
want to make sure you're consistent. So when I say treat yourself as a brand, I'm not saying only show up as a brand. I'm not wanting you to do that. Nike is not one person, right?
Right.
So the owner of Nike doesn't show up just as Nike, but you do want to make sure when you are showing up for your audience, it is consistent. So
Right.
you want to make sure that you are using not only the verbiage that they need to hear, and when I say they need to hear, is like the verbiage they literally need to hear. So if you're solving a problem, you need to be using the words that you're solving the problem for. So if
Right.
I'm helping someone with burnout and overthinking and feeling overwhelmed, guess what words I'm using? Burnout, overthinking, overwhelmed, but I'm also giving the positive words, the solutions to it.
Yes.
And so when I am talking to people, even if I go live, I am using the same verbiage. I am making sure it's consistent. That goes into names. I'm going to raise my hand when I said I had to do my own freaking audit on myself, because I have done so many things over the years that
Mhm.
you can put my name in Google. You will get Fortitude Babe, because for the longest time I was a personal trainer.
Yes.
And so Fortitude Babe was really huge, because when I go in, I go all the way in, y'all. I go
I know.
hard. Okay.
Yes.
You will see Forte Fitness. You will see Soul Kissed Mama. You will see a lot of different monikers I've put up, and they have similar tones, but because I'm talking to different audiences, they don't all mesh together. And
Right.
again, when there's confusion, there's not connectivity.
Right.
So you do want to make sure that whatever you're currently doing, you want to have it consistent. And that's what I mean about treating yourself as a brand. So, just to recap, number one, determine who you really are, quit playing. Number two, determine what you want to accomplish. If you just want to be seen, boo, you just want to be seen. Like, don't get mad about that, okay?
Yeah.
Three, identify your target audience. Who are you talking to? And again, 3A, I would say, is it's okay if that changes over time. It's
Right.
going to. Nothing is set in stone, and that's the beauty of the whole thing. Number four, determine your unique service proposition. What do you do? Who do you serve in one statement?
Right.
And number five, treat yourself as a brand, as in be consistent. You can be all out in the streets, just be consistent all out in those streets, okay? Don't be doing
Yeah.
XYZ, whatever. And I'll say this, when it comes to social media too, or being on the digital
Mhm.
streets, it is hard when you are someone like myself who likes to do multiple things.
Yeah.
So, what I tend to do is because wherever you're focused on, that's going to grow.
Yeah.
So, Instagram's not my jam. But let's say so my Instagram. I have to clean my Instagram up because I started it because I was on Clubhouse and they didn't have any other platform
Okay.
to connect other than Instagram. And so I posted on there, but I would find myself also posting like stuff that was random
Mhm.
to to the brand. So if you're going on my Instagram and you're looking for either personal branding or your affirmations, or talking about healing and self-love,
Mhm.
and you see that I'm now talking about, like, I don't know, McDonald's three-piece meal. I don't know. I'm throwing stuff out there. It throws it completely off. Now, I'll say
Yeah.
you want to make sure you put your personality in there because that's what they're coming for.
Right.
And again, this is a personal brand, not a business brand. I know I've used Nike, but that's because it's very, who I should have used?
Who?
Oprah. So Oprah is the
Yes.
epitome of using your personal brand in your business brand and how you can do more than one thing under your name.
Yes.
We know Oprah Winfrey. We know she
Mhm.
owns magazines. We know she owns vineyards. We know that she has Soul Sundays. We know she does all of these things, and we're okay with it because all of it was under Oprah. So you
Right.
but if you look on her social media, her webpage, it's all separated.
Mhm.
So you can do more than one thing. You can show the world everything you need to know
Yes.
about you. You know, they need to know about you, but make sure that you're not confusing folks. So if you are starting a page and it's about X, then make sure that Y and Z have their own space. You can
Right.
kind of talk about it a little bit, but not to the point where they're like, okay, I don't even know what's going on right now.
Yeah. Don't confuse people.
And
It's
I'm not
so
going any
easy.
longer because I'm just saying rebranding is a thing as well. But that's another episode.
Is everything that you said is so important, and I think that, how it pertains to what I do as an instructor is trying to get across the point that, students, especially and I've said this before, at the community college level, there's so many possibilities. There's still, even regardless of whether they're 18 or 80, there are so many different possibilities for different paths that they can go on, but they have to take a moment to figure out who they are first, because maybe college isn't even the right path for them. And you, like so many other people, there's so many opportunities out there, and especially when you're a creative, that there might not be one single path, and there needs to be more understanding about having multiple paths, reinventing yourself, exploring all of the different things that you are, and just focusing in on perhaps one thing at a time, but embodying all of the different things that you are, accepting all the different things that you are, and not going in one direction just because you feel like you have to, not going into a job thinking that, oh, I'm only going to be able to do this one thing for 20 or 30 years. It's about that diversity. It's about diversifying your own sort of portfolio, but establishing who you are as a person first, establishing your own brand, and then adding on from there. But I think that there's so much fear, especially again, like with I see it in my students all the time. There's so much fear coming into the classroom and going, I'm here because I was told to come here. I'm here because I don't know what else to do. I don't know who I am, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's not who you are. Maybe it's not what you're supposed to do. Like you said, you can always take knowledge from all the different classes and apply them to whatever you happen to be focusing on at this moment. But it is really important to not dwell on the fact that I can only do this one thing. No, you can do this one thing right now. You can think about who you are in a few years. If you're a different person in a few years, do that other thing. And don't be afraid to continue learning, continue investing in yourself, and continue applying all of those new concepts that you've learned to where you are right now in your life, and then working from there. So I think that all of what you said is super applicable to business, to mompreneurs, to students. I mean, to just about everyone, because everyone needs to be their own authentic self, and we need to be very self-reflective and establish who we are first before we try to do all of the other things and creating our logos.
You know, and the logo, I'm not trying to say that on the business side the logo isn't important and the colors aren't
Right.
important, because there's a whole psychology to it.
Right, right.
In But what I'm saying is, just like you said, you have to make sure that you're authentic to yourself before you start,
Yeah,
because if
absolutely.
not, then you're going to end up burning it all and restarting. You know, or you say,
Which is a
this
thing.
wasn't for me, it was too hard, I wasn't happy doing it, and it's because the foundation was already rocky,
Right.
you know. But I will just leave off with this, and I like this quote by Jeff Bezos. You've probably heard it before, but he says your brand is basically what's said about you when you're not in the room.
Mm,
Because people can say whatever when you're there, but when you're not there, that's what they say about you. And we all have one, whether you think we do or not.
yes.
You know, if you're like, well, I'm not an influencer, I'm not this, I'm not that. No, but you still have a brand. Just call it a reputation.
Right.
You
It's
know,
the same thing.
you
Yeah.
you still have a brand. And so what you want for them to be talking about you in a favorable, I would say favorable light, but I'm going to be honest, if you have my name in your mouth, I'm fine, right? Go click on my stuff, bring my views up, I'm good. I know who I am, so it's like, even if you have something bad to say, that's fine, you
That's
know,
fine too.
whatever.
That's totally fine
but
too.
but it's what they say about you when you're not in the room.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us today. I will try to link as much as you would like me to link in the description box below this video on YouTube. I will include all of the notes in the I'm still getting used to the whole podcast format and everything. In the show notes, I will be including all of your information so that people can find you and learn more from you and grow with you, hopefully. And if they can't get anything out of what you've said today or tomorrow, then maybe they can share all of this wonderful information with a friend. Thank you again so much, Chanté Franco, my military bestie, my girl.
Military bestie.
I can't wait to see you in person again. It's one of the foul things about this life is that we never really know when we're going to see each other again, but thankfully we have social media and we have platforms like this where we can still connect with one another and learn and grow together. So thank you so much again for joining me today on Office Hours here at the Professor's Kitchen. You can find all of this information on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also see the video now on Spotify as well as on the Professor's Kitchen YouTube channel. Thank you.